estate with your host, Rob Golfi. Brought to you by the Golfi Team at RE/MAX Escarpment, featuring Conrad Zarini, broker-owner of RE/MAX Escarpment Realty Inc., and Brian Hogben, owner of Mission 35 Mortgages. Let's hear what's going on in real estate this week.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep. Perfectly. Okay. Yep. Good.
This technology, I don't know. It says your mic's muted, but it's not muted. I don't know what the heck's going on, but thanks for coming on. Conrad, thanks for coming on. I know you're travel bound or whatever you are, but thanks for coming on.
I think Conrad was just in the middle of the meeting and said, "Can I use the washroom?" And then came to do this. And go back,
That's it. He's outside. That's it. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to get right to the point on this thing. Okay, I'm getting sick and tired of every month. Okay, we got an announcement to make on this interest rate thing. Like, how long is this going to keep going on? Like, you know, it's like, what's better? Why don't they just get it? They should just done one big one and that's it, and let's go on with life instead of trying to. They're keeping everybody on suspense. You know, people are wondering what to do. I don't know. Brian, you're the mortgage guy. It's
a tough one. Like, it's a balancing act. I would not want Tiff Macklin's job by any stretch of the imagination, right? You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? You know, do a big hike and get it out of the way, which we saw 1 point, we saw 3/4, we saw a quarter, we saw a half, right? The good news, if any good news that I thought that came out of this is all the economists that I listened to, talked to, read on, they all predicted a 3/4 point increase, right? So I think the good news that is at least predictions are now matching and in alignment with what's happening, which even though it's not great, it starts to create a little bit more certainty, right? So, you know, now what's going to happen next? Obviously, more time will tell. The next meeting's not till October 26th. Mm-hmm. But, you know, some people are still saying another quarter and another quarter. Some other camps are saying we're going to pause now. It's going to be hard to see. I think it's also depending on who you talk to, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Realtors and mortgage brokers, we're saying it's going to pause. I've got a friend who's in the debt settlement business. He's telling me it's 1.5% more for sure, right? So yeah, it all depends on which camp you're in too. So it's challenging, but I think it comes down to the tried, tested, and true, right? Like, we're going back to basics here, and we're having just really basic, fundamental conversations again, right? What does it cost? You know, for people that are getting pre-approved right now, I think a lot of mortgage brokers and agents are way more educated now than they were before, because a lot of them are having better conversations now, and they're saying, "Hey, listen, this is what the fix looks like. Here's your certainty. This is what a variable looks like, and this is the difference with a 1/4 point, a 1/2 point, a 1% increase." And what are your choices? What are your options? What do you want to do? And what are your goals, right? So it really comes down to the basics there again.
Now, you're an investor because I think you just bought. Did you just buy something just recently?
Well, it's conditional.
It's conditional, but it hasn't held you back as an investor.
No, and I think you know what, and we've talked about this before. I think if you're doing something in the same market, what's the difference? So I sold one of my rental properties we put it up for sale in May. It sold in July. And arguably people think I'm a bonehead because that would have been the worst time to do it. But my perspective is I'm buying in the same low market. So whether I sold for a bit lower, I'm going to buy for a bit lower. And I think that's the same for if you're buying and selling your house. If you're going to sell for a bit lower, you're going to buy for a bit lower.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, and I know a lot of condo owners that own properties and they're renewing their mortgages. Now they're going to be in a little bit in the negative because of the fact that the rent that they're collecting is not going to pay for, you know, their mortgage, their condo fees and whatever, and their taxes and insurance or whatever. So I know they're going to have to eat a little bit of it. I mean, and obviously they get to write that off, but we don't like losing money regardless. But I think we're going to see a lot of that. Now, is that going to make it tougher for new investors buying new condos coming up the pipeline? Right? Do you think the developers are going to feel, say, hey, listen, we got 300 units opening up next month. Are we going to see? They're not going to sell out 300 units in 3 hours like they did before. It's going to take some time, I would assume.
Well, I don't think the money's going to stay on the sidelines forever. And if you're November 2018 or younger, once that year is up with your lease, you can increase the amount of the lease, right? And again, it's really easy. You go to your tenant and say, hey, my interest, you can see interest is up higher, my costs are higher, I have to pass on those costs to you, or I'll find a tenant that will look at it. Rents have risen 5% like month over month, so it's again, as an investor, it's great. The other thing to remember is, look, and I hear what you're saying, Rob, but these guys all want to talk about a soft landing, right? So they're doing this incremental thing, so it's not like a crash landing. If there's anything that tells me the U.S. is probably going to match us in a couple of weeks, the U.S. is talking 4%. I don't know if you read the Globe and Mail today, they're talking about 4% in Canada. So if they go 3/4 point or 1/4 point or whatever, then you're going to see it hold for a little while. And I think it's a matter of strategy. And Brian touched on it. Do I go variable? Do I 2-year? All that kind of thing. The other thing is a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines, waiting for some prices to drop further. I tell you, sit down with any of Rob's salespeople, and they'll be able to sit down with you, look at the HPI, look at the benchmark price. We're seeing neighborhoods where it's leveled off, where it's zero. It didn't drop at all. 2 stories in certain areas. I just did the East End. You'd be surprised. Rosedale's kind of, it's prices have stabilized. So my thing is, you'll never be able to estimate the bottom like nobody estimated the top was in March 2022. Right. You can't get the bottom. So stop fighting that old bottom. Sit down, be strategic, look at where you see prices leveling off. The other fundamentals in real estate are there: household creation, demand, immigration, all that kind of stuff. And new, Rob, you're right. New is being held off. Builders are saying, wait a minute, I got to see what construction costs are going to be too, because I want to be able to bring a product that people can afford. Well, that's good news for resale. And I'm seeing investors buying built townhouses that are out there, and they're actually searching for them to rent, because they know that the rental market is strong, and they'll work with what they have in front of them today.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Now, Brian, when people are coming to you for mortgages, new deals, what are they saying? Are they saying, like, because there's a 90-day window that you can lock in if they've been pre-approved? Am I correct?
Yeah, a lot of the lenders will actually hold rates for up to 120 days, right? But those are the fixed rates. The challenge is that on you can't hold a variable rate. So whatever it is on closing is what it is on closing, right? So, and the other thing with the rate hike, which this affected the one camp on the pre-approvals, because now the stress test has gone higher. So now, like your lowest stress test is almost 6.5% right now, which was 5.25%. So now you're looking at, for some people, that's going to be a reduction of, could be over 10 to 15% in purchasing power.
Yeah.
Right? So, but to get back to your point, Rob, what a lot of people say about rates who come in, who are buying their first house? You know what a lot of people say? That's great.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Not a problem.
Why? Because we're the ones who have been living in this market for the past 90, 120, 180, 6-month days, and our perceptions are the ones that are changing. But someone who just got married, Tom and Sally, whoever's getting their new house, and now all of a sudden they're like, let's get a house. Yay, we're pre-approved.
Yeah.
The rate's 5%. We can afford it. Let's buy a house. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
It's the camp that bought within the past 6 to 9 months that doesn't like what's happening right now. And I get that. You know what I mean? The new camp, they're happy to be approved and happy to buy.
And you're right. We're going to go back to that first-time buyer fueling the market. Like, they were 21% and investors were 25%. Exactly what you're saying. They're situational. They're creating a household. They're getting married, whatever. They're going to buy, and no matter what the rates are. And they were looking at condos back in March, and in February they were looking at condos. Now looking at detached homes. It's like a win-win for them, right? Absolutely. You're 100%.
Well, and Rob, we were talking about this yesterday, the down payment.
Yeah.
Like if you want, like, the reduction in down payment now, because the prices have gone down, The stat that Rob had there, I'll steal your thunder there, Rob. If that's
No,
okay.
go ahead. Go ahead.
It went from 870,000 for the average sale price down to 648. You're saving on average between the minimum down payment and land transfer tax $27,000. So that first time home buyer now has to come up with almost 30 grand less than what they had to in January, February. And that's big money. That's big savings there.
That is huge. Big time. And it's funny though, once you lay it out as a chart, we're going to have that in our newsletter when it comes out next week. And it makes it more achievable for a first time buyer trying to buy their first home because of the fact they don't have to save up like that extra $30,000 for sure. That's crazy. So what else is happening in the so I noticed, month over month, some areas have declined a little bit. It's not as rapid as it was before in the first 3 months after the May, June, and July, or April, May, June, and July, where housing prices have declined. Do you think it's leveling off soon? Any thoughts, Conrad?
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, there's pockets. We're seeing townhouses kind of leveling off, 1 stories, 2 stories. But I will say as a company, we were up 10% over last August in unit sales. That's got to tell you something. Yeah. Wow. So that's telling you something that people are really getting accustomed to this. I know there is some uncertainty, but again, like I always say, you can't sit in the sidelines forever. People are out there. We're seeing actually our sales. We have more sales than listings. So we're probably up about last week we did about 200 listings and we did about 220 sales. So we're actually eating up the inventory. You're seeing some areas going balanced and into seller territory very shortly. A lot of that inventory has been either people got frustrated and either leased it or it got sold. And now we're going to see some normal markets. It's only about 2.25 months supply of properties. I tell you, back in 2019, it was 3 months supply. So we're in really, really, really good shape as a market, and inventories are in really good shape right now.
Yeah, and I think new listings coming up in September now. I think the people are going to be more realistic on their prices. The old listings that are coming off that listed just after that boom, and they're trying to hold on and see if they can get that large price. They're coming off the market, and either they'll come back into the market with the right price, or not come back at all. But anybody new coming into the market, we've got at least 60, 90 days of pricing that we can actually evaluate and say, hey, forget about March, February, and March. This is what the value is. So you're going to see, and I think the activity of sales are going to be greater starting this month, just because the listings are going to be more realistic in price, and you're going to see more buyers that way.
Yeah. Bingo. So, yeah, there's without a doubt, and like I said, people are going to start to really, once mortgage rates stabilize, I hate to tell you how fast and furious this thing can go back the other way. I hate to be on that side of it.
Yeah.
Right?
I gotcha.
It's going to be crazy. If I'm a buyer, I don't want to be on look, they're in that A, the right side of the A right now, but leveling off. I wouldn't want to be on the left side of the A. Let me tell you. I think, it seems like it's a classic U, really, at the end of the day. I don't know if people are really looking at it. Some people feel it's a W, but it's really a classic U. It dropped dramatically March, April, and then it kind of slowly, it's going to level off, and then we're going to see it incrementally, and then it'll take off. So I think we're in a U market, I believe. Anyway, Brian, you might have something else to say about the U market, or Rob. I'm not sure what you're seeing.
I think you're absolutely right with that. I'm with you on that, and I think I just let people know that, listen, this is the normal interest rate level. This is not unnormal. So like Brian, what the interest rate in 2019? What was the average? Was it 3.99? What was that?
Yeah, it was around 3.95, 3.75 for prime rate. So we're a little bit higher than what we were then.
Big deal.
It's like, when you're talking about a U, I actually think it'll probably turn into a W. You know what I mean? Because like it's a balancing act, right? I think you just don't know how long the middle portion is. Every time, like when I look through we've seen 3% rate hikes in 6 to 8 months in the past. We saw it in the 90s. And then within 6 to 12 months, typically after something like this, the rate's down a point or two as well, right? So it's just a matter of how long that middle point is. Is that middle point going to be a month where they start to adjust? Is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be a year? I don't know, but you know, that's how it's going to ebb and flow, because it is a balancing act that the Bank of Canada is trying to make, and there's so many different data points that they gotta look at. So
awesome, guys, awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate everything, and guys, thank you so much. Conrad, thanks for taking the time. I know your schedule was really tight to get in there. Brian, thanks again with the mortgage update. And what was that, Conrad?
No, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I could make it, because this was an important day, I think, really.
It is.
You really need to know, right? So,
Right. And everybody, thanks for listening and appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, guys.